Hey guys, welcome back to the Team Hemp channel. This is James, aka Taicho, and I'm here with a premium deck profile for the Lord of Lock himself, Mr. Chaos Breaker, for the premium format. This is actually our teammate Skittles' deck, and we really wanted to show it on here on the channel. So without further ado, let's get started. So we start off with the big boss himself, Mr. Chaos Breaker. He's the whole center focus of the deck. He's the main grade 3 of the deck. You all love him, you all hate him, whatever it is. This is the big boy you need a 4 of in the deck. Basically, his main effect is that when he sees a card on lock, you can Soul Blast 1 and retire that unlocked card to draw a card. And then if your opponent has gift markers, they have to remove a total of 2. And you get 1 imaginary gift force for every marker you removed. So yeah, he's the big dude, the big guy himself. Followed up with the other grade 3, a 4 of Chaos Breaker Close. So the main effect for him is that when he's discarded, if you have a hard card with Chaos in its name, so if you stride over this guy, you can Soul Blast 1, make your opponent lock a card from their hand. He's like the main stride father in the deck. He allows you to take rip cards out of your opponent's hand, put them on the field as locked. Very much interrupts your opponent's field, interrupts their hands. Very solid grade 3. So you run 4 and 4 of each. Then we go to the grade 2s. We start off with 4 of the Star-Vader Zirconium. So when he's placed Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, Counterblast 1, your opponent looks at the top card of their deck and puts it on an open circle as locked. If they put it in the back row, you get to draw a card and he gets 10k. The other big positive of this guy is that when he's on rearguard circle, if the opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater and they have a locked card, which most likely they will, this is Star-Vaders, all of your Vanguard's original crits becomes 2. So if you're on Chaos Breaker and you're on, like say you stride over him, then you call this and you lock an opponent's card, congratulations, now your stride is going to be crit plus 1, or original crit becomes 2. So you'll be swinging for 2 damage. Adds extra pressure for the deck. Very solid grade 2, definitely a 4 of in the deck. And then we follow up with 3 of Skittles' personal favorite cards. She runs 3 of the Photons, so when he's called, if your opponent has a lock card, you just lock a card for free. He is a 9k base, because he's from the OG days of Legion, and so, but he's still a very good card, just a free lock, as I said. And there's another reason why she also likes running this. There's another grade 2 card she runs that adds extra usage to this card. So then we go with 2 of this guy, Dumnium. So this is another card she really likes. She's been trying to run it as higher ratios, but so far 2's been working for her. So the main effect that he has is that when he attacks at GB2, so you have to have 2 face-up G cards in the G zone, or 1 in the Vanguard circle, 1 in the G zone face up. So when he attacks, if your Vanguard's Chaos, which again is Chaos Breaker, everything, it's always going to have Chaos in the name. You can Counterblast 1, and then your opponent has to may choose a card from their hand and put it on the field as locked. If they do not, then he gets plus 10k and you get to draw a card. So you're pretty much forcing your opponent to decide, hey, do you care about your hand that much? To the point that I get to draw a card and he gets 10k, or are you going to lock one from your hand, again disrupting your board and not letting me get an extra card off of this. So this card has been very annoying to play against. I do recommend running this in your decks if you have the space for it. And yeah, so we go now into this card. Has been a card that she has tried out and she's actually been liking a lot. She runs 2 of the Order. So you Counterblast 1 to play the Order, and when it's put in the Order zone, you draw a card. But the main effect is, as long as it's in the Order zone, this will give all your grade 2s boost. So say you have a bunch of grade 2s, like say you have him on the board, you have him on the board, and you go, well, I don't really have a lot of grade 1 boosters. I'm not seeing them. It's okay, because if you see this Order, this guy, after calling him, now he's just the 9k booster that you can keep playing for the whole game. So adds extra utility to these grade 2s, as well as to this guy right here. So you can like move this guy to the back row. His continuous effect of getting the crit, he doesn't care if he's in the front or the back. So you can move him back, make him a booster, 10k booster, and also giving the crit to the van. So this card does give a lot of utility to the deck. Every time I see her play it, it's really annoying because now I know that, okay, so she doesn't need grade 1s to boost. Now she has 2s. Great. So yeah, 2 of those. And then we go to grade 1s. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be wondering why not 4 of this Craving Claw. I actually asked the same thing myself, and she told me that for this card, she was originally running as a 4 of, but she took one down to try out other grade 1s in her lineup. So right now we're still play testing her lineup and what she's running in her deck. But so far, she always sees this card. She always has it in hand her first early turns. So it's been working 3 for her. This card's really annoying. So for those who don't know, when his attack hits or the attack he boosted hits a Vanguard, you can check the top 5 cards of your deck, search for a Star-Vader, and add it to hand. So you've been noticing so far, everything, for the most part, everything's been a Star-Vader. And then his other skill is if the opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, you can put him into Soul, choose an opponent's lock card, and you unlock that card, and then you can move the lock to something else. So you unlock something to lock something else. So that works really well with the big boy himself, Mr. Chaos Breaker, for the reason that if you put him into Soul, you unlock a card, you switch the card to lock to something else, then he triggers, so you can Soul Blast one to retire it, steal your opponent's markers, and get some additional force markers, because if you notice, this guy does not have any imaginary gifts. So that's the main way this guy generates gift markers for this deck. It's just he steals from your opponent. It's very rude, not nice. And yeah, so if you want to run this as a 4 of, go for it. Not a problem at all. It's just for Skittles herself. She's been seeing it all the time. Works for her as a 3 of. Now, the other 3 of in her deck is this newer card that was released, Mr. Palladium. So when he's rode upon, you can call him to rearguard circles. So for those who used to play in the past, when we had starters that had Forerunner ability, when rode upon, you can call it to a rearguard circle. That's basically what he has, is the Forerunner ability. And his other skill is if the opponent's lock card is unlocked and he sees it, you can counterblast 1 and retire this unit. So you remove him from the board. Then your opponent looks at the top card of their deck and they put it to an open circle as locked. So he's kind of similar to this grade 2 Zirconium right here, minus, you know, the extra draw, which that's unfortunate. But he's really nice in that if you see that your opponent has lock cards, but they don't have that much rear guards on the field, so you can do his skill, you can counterblast 1, that card unlocks. Okay, now look at the top card, put it somewhere in an open circle as locked, and that can help you set up for some stride plays later on in the game. It's a very solid card. I haven't really seen this that much. This is one of those cards that Skittles just unfortunately doesn't see that often. But when she does see it, it's really annoying. She usually hits triggers with this card when she says, okay, now look at the top card and lock again. Okay, sure. That's annoying. And then for her other grade 1s, she runs the Cat and she runs the Bulbamine. All right, so the Cat she uses as an extra card in Soul, because if there's a face down card in the same column as this, or your opponent has a bind card face down, you can put it into Soul to give a unit plus 10. So this generates Soul for the deck. That's why she likes running this card. And then the same reason for this generates Soul, but this is also a counter charger. It plays off the grade 2 order that I showed earlier. So if you have this out and you can boost with this, because it's an 8K, then it can go to Soul, giving you a counter charge. So it's giving you all the extra resources that you need for Chaos Breaker and for all your other stride plays later on. So very solid choices. They've been working very well for her. And if you feel like you don't need the order in the Bulbamine, you can definitely try running other cards as well. But for right now, this has been pretty solid for Skittles. And then, now, this one I like a lot. she's actually running, instead of the Sentinel PG, she's running 4 copies of the Cosmo Reef, the grade 1 PG from G-Aero, because when you PG with this and there's a copy in the drop zone, you can countercharge 1. So this is a solid countercharger for the deck. She explained to me that she likes seeing this and that it gets around the grade 0 restrict cards or decks, and the fact that she can, if she needs a booster, she can call this out if need be. She can also discard this for other effects, and then the moment this goes into the drop zone, instantly active to countercharge for the deck. So I've liked this a lot when she plays with it. It does give her the CC she needs in certain situations, and yeah, it's just been working really well for her. So for those, and then we go to the triggers. So we're running the 8 crits, so 4 of the Go to Soul plus 10k draw, 2 Sentinel crits, 2 Strider crits, and then 2 effect crits for Star-Vaders. So the reason why she is not running the 4 stride crits is because we have Close. That's our main stride fodder, so that's the main one we want to use. And Soul is a very big resource for the deck, especially for a lot of the strides we're going to be seeing later on. So that's why she's upped this to 4. And instead of running the 4 stride crits, she made room for the Star-Vader crit that says, you can put this back on your deck. If your Vanguard's a Star-Vader and they have a lock card, you can lock one of your opponent's back row, and then you shuffle the deck. So it's a crit that goes back to the deck, continues locking your opponent's fields for free, basically, as long as they have already a lock card. And that's very, very handy to have, very useful. So that's why she's running this crit lineup right here. And she also runs 3 fronts. So she, as we've stated before with the order card, she doesn't always see the grade 1 boosters. She doesn't usually have boosters at all because most of the grade 1s remove themselves. So she was trying to figure out ways to mitigate that and try to power up her field. And why not run the front triggers from Overdress? And they're 20k shields, so best of both worlds. Extra shield value. When you dry check this, give your field power. Very, very solid trigger choice in running these. And she feels that she draws enough in the deck that she doesn't really need to draw triggers. So it's that. And now for heals, she runs 3 Heal Guardians and 1 20k shield. She likes these. She says that when she plays with these, it's really nice to have these as stride fodders for the early game. But there have been some situations where she wished that these were, like, one of these would be a 20k shield. And so that's why she runs the 1 20k shield. In the event that she can't G-guard, but she needs a high shield value, she has that. She also really likes the art, so can't fault her for that. That's really nice artwork, guys. And then for the over trigger, obviously the Brent over trigger because it's OP as hell. Can't tell me otherwise. And for her starters, she really likes the Draco Kid, so we go with that. And so now we go for the strides. So for her big stride play, the main one she goes into is Mr. Deluge. So Mr. Deluge says at GB3, you Soul Blast 1 and you discard a card from your hand and you flip a G unit face up. If your hard card is a Chaos, which it always will be, you can take 2 cards from your opponent's hand, put them on the field as lock, and then if their damage is 4 or less, you can put one of those lock cards into the damage zone. So he increases the damage on your opponent. Potentially can be a kill shot because if your opponent's at 4 damage, they're trying to guard. You can go into this, say, okay, now make your damage 5. Now you have to guard everything I throw at you. So one of the main strides in the deck, very solid stride. And then one of her favorite strides, the Mr. Glue Ball Dragon. So his ability is once per turn, you Soul Blast 1, you flip a copy, and then for every face-up card in the G zone, you choose one of your opponent's rear guards and lock it. Then if you're at GB3, all of your units with Star-Vader in their name in the front row gets 3k for each lock card. So big, beefy, makes your columns really big, especially after you do a play like this. And You push them to 5. You can go into this and say, okay, now these are huge, big numbers. We swing. Can you guard all these big numbers? And she only runs 2 because she has other strides that she's trying out. But it's very much a timing of when she goes into this for her. But this is definitely, hands down, one of her favorite strides she loves going into. So another stride we use is the Chaos Universe, usually her first stride. So you can counterblast 1, flip a copy. If your heart card is a Star-Vader, or Chaos, I'm sorry, you get to choose a card, choose one of your opponent's open circles. They take a card from their hand, put it down as locked. And then if you have 2 or more face-up G units, when you do his skill, you can choose one of your opponent's rear guards and lock it. So if it's a first stride, you lock 1 from hand. If it's like your second stride onward, you lock an additional rear guard on top of locking 1 from hand. So usually her first stride to start interrupting the opponent and messing up their plays, especially when you stride using this. You lock 1 from hand with this, then you lock another 1 from this. So that's 2 cards out of their hand. It's a very nasty combo. And then another stride she runs is Chaos Universe Althani. So I've asked her why she runs this stride and not just run 4 glue balls. She says that there are moments where her opponent will have like no rear guards, and she doesn't, sometimes she won't have this to stride with. So she can go into this stride. Soul Blast 1, you flip, make sure. Yep, you flip a Chaos G unit face up, and then you lock 2 of your opponent's rear guards. And if they cannot lock 2 rear guards, then you choose 2 of your units. They get plus 2k, and you get to draw 2 cards. So if your opponent has no rear guards, they haven't really called anything, you don't have close to lock from hand, stride into this, Soul Blast, please lock 2, you can't, so I draw 2 cards and 2 units get plus 2k. Doesn't really go into this doesn't really come up, but is there as an option. And then she runs the 1 of the Baryon Dragon. Hope I said that right. So his ability is when placed, you flip a G unit, and then you remove all of your opponent's markers from their circles. Remove all the markers from the hand, so any protects, excels, force, they're all removed. And then he gets 10k and a crit for each marker removed. So for those decks that like to spam markers, you go into this, you say, okay, wipe out all those markers. Did I wipe? How many did I wipe? Say 3. He got 30k and extra 3 crit. So swing for 4 damage. So she only runs it as a 1-of because there hasn't been many decks she's faced that spams that many markers, but it's here just in case. And then the other stride she runs is Mr. Stark himself, the Xeroth Dragon that pretty much says Counterblast 2, Drive -2, but he can swing 3 times. It's here as a finisher. Hardly ever goes into it. It's not really required for the deck, but if you have it, cool, run it. It's a decent finisher. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. Not gonna kill the bank. And then for G guards, she runs 3 of the Destiny Guardians, which is the main G guard for the deck. You unlock 2 on either player's fields, and so you unlock 2 from either player's fields, and then if you do unlock 2, it gets 10k extra shield. The main play with this is you combine it with Monsieur Chaos Breaker right here, and you unlock 2 on your opponent's field. Because you unlock 2 and he's your Vanguard, he sees it, you can Soul Blast 1 for each unlock, retire those, draw 1 for each, and then if they have a total of 4 markers, they remove all 4 markers, and you get 4 imaginary gift forces. So these 2 together is the main combo play that you do on your opponent's turn. Very devastating. It hurts a lot. I'm a guy who likes to play Majesty Lord Blaster and Narukami, for example, and seeing this guy, and then this happened, it's like, wow, I just lost all my markers that I worked hard to get. Wow, okay. So yeah, so definitely the 3-of, because if you try to run 4, you won't have as much room for these other G guards, and which are the Cosmo Reef, which is a Counterblast 1. Your opponent chooses a card in the back row and locks it, and then gets 5k shield. And then also Lucas Carina, that says you counterblast 1, you flip a G guard, you lock up to 3 of your rear guards, and then for each card lock, your opponent chooses a back row and lock it. These are situational when these come up. If this was like a Messiah deck, this would be a lot more helpful, and so with this, but they are still options to have. Getting rid of boosters is really nice. If you ran the 4 of these, if it works for you, go for it, but to make room for other cards in the G zone, you just run 3, especially for these right here. All right, well, that is the deck profile for Chaos Breaker and Premium. Like I said, the deck has a lot of different ratios and wonky deck choices, but these wonky deck choices work out for Skittles. It's a very hard deck to play against. Other team members on the team, we hate fighting this deck. We all do. Every time we play against Gloria in a tournament setting for Premium, you go, oh man, we have to fight Chaos again. Oh my goodness. But she plays it really well. The deck really responds for her, and it's just a solid deck to play. Can it keep up with Gridora and Nightmare Dolls and everything else going out there in the world? It struggles, not gonna lie. It does struggle against it, but it can steal wins, especially if you're able to play the deck right. The new Stride and G-Guard hopefully will help out the deck. Skittles was very excited to try them out, so if she really likes it and she changed the deck up completely when those come out, we'll definitely do an updated deck profile so you guys can see it. But with that out of the way, thank you so much, guys. Please like, subscribe. We're trying to get to that 200 mark on the channel, so every little bit helps. And you guys take care.